MUL-T is an enigma. What I mean is he's a completely different character depending on his abilities. Yes, a lot of other characters can change depending on their abilities, but none more so than MUL-T in my opinion. Do you want to turn someone into a pincushion? Maybe impale them through the rear end with a piece of rebar. What about being the soldier from Team Fortress 2? Or what about the best version of Will It Blend? Or maybe some combination of them all. There are so many ways to play MUL-T that making a generalization on him is super counterproductive because yes, he could get massive value out of leeching seeds, or he could get barely any at all. He could love the crowbar, or he could not. He could be the shit, or he's not even the fart. My point is, there's a lot of different ways to play MUL-T, making it hard to make any video on him because he's basically a different character depending on your ability blend. So what I'm going to do is explain the specials first because they heavily change the playstyle, then I'll talk about the subclasses. So let's talk about these puppies. One of them switches your primary weapon and switches your equipment, making MUL-T the only character that holds two equipments. Or you can go for the maximum damage route, giving yourself a girthy damage resistance, along with pulling out both primaries. Now, neglecting the big things, I want you to look down here. You see that? That's a cooldown, meaning power mode has a cooldown significantly bigger than retool. You'll also be booted out of your power mode if you try to use your utility transport mode, or as I like to call it,
I am speed.
You also move super slow in this mode, around 60% movement speed, give or take, for being so bulbous. So needless to say, it's not a direct upgrade unless you use it with a good pair of weapons. Now I should explain the different primary weapons for our baseline. The nail gun is like a machine gun mixed with a shotgun, spraying nails doing 70% damage and a random cone in front of you shooting 12 when you stop firing. The rebar is equivalent to a sniper, doing 600% damage, and honestly, it's probably the closest thing we had to a sniper before the railgunner was added. The scrap launcher is basically a rocket launcher that shoots 4 rockets for 360 damage each before needing to recharge. And then there's the saw, doing the highest damage with 1000% damage per second. And that's all of them, amounting to 16 possible combinations, but honestly, not all of them are viable. Before I touch on those combinations, let me talk about maps and things generally most multiplayers will struggle with. MUL-T is a very down-to-earth robot, or, give me a second. He's a Petrichor 5 robot. Basically, he can't really leave the planet's surface much, while Acrid has hops that puts the NBA players to shame, Railgunner has the boom fruit, Void Fiend has the uppercut, Rex has the womp, Bandit has the double jump, and Huntress has the blinks that goes in a direction. Artificer has the up, and away. You get the idea. To be fair, MUL-T's not the only character magnetized to the floor, like I'm not the only person magnetized to my chair 24 hours a day. A Hoopoe Feather fixes this issue, but it's entirely based on luck, and 2 of those characters don't have a movement option affected by movement speed that you can't stop until it's finished. Let's talk about transport mode for a second. It's a really strong ability. It gives you 200 armor, a bonus 220% movement speed, and a 250% damage on anything you hit. As per usual with Risk of Rain 2, this isn't the whole story, like it being able to do 1000% damage to big enough enemies at the cost of stopping your ability early, and it doing more damage based on your movement speed bonuses. Basically, it's very strong, but being locked to horizontal movement with no fall damage immunity ends up being very embarrassing when you die. You may say that's a skill issue if you want, but it's still something to be wary of on maps like Verdant's Grove, Amphibian Sanctuary, Siren's Call, and Sundered Grove. While I'm at it, I might as well just explain his secondary. It basically just stuns the enemy and drops some like little bubbles that explode and stun the enemy again. It's pretty lackluster, so I usually forget about it whenever I'm playing MUL-T, but it's good to know because it's really good in the early game against Stone Titans. But going back to being locked in horizontal mobility, it has more ramifications other than just the maps being difficult to traverse, because the less vertical mobility makes Mithrix a tough boss to beat. Considering some of his most powerful attacks you'll have to be above in order to survive, I would recommend on every version of MUL-T to try and get your hands on a Hoopoe Feather at all costs. Or just be an alpha chat and pull a head stomper. I still don't know how to make this video though, there's just too many ways to play MUL-T, like I'm at a loss here. Huh? What's that? A way to make this video, you say? Alright. Well, let's give it a go. But enough of that. Let's get into the best way to play MUL-T. The double nailgun strat. Equipping a nailgun in both primary slots and equipping power mode can output roughly 1680% damage per second. Now remember, that's if you're actually sniffing something's ass, because the nails disintegrate the farther you go. And I did somewhat lie about the randomness of their spread. It's not entirely random, but they are going in a loose corkscrew shape randomly. So in essence, when you're playing this class, you are being the heavy from Team Fortress 2 minus the spies and the snipe. Oh, I guess we have the snipers too. You are going to output some insane damage up close and lose consistent damage in mid-range and no damage at all at long range. So you have a consistently strong matchup with bosses and enemies like beetles, stone titans, and gubs. Basically anything that wants to get close or anything you want to rush down with your car mode then spray into, but it struggles against most ranged enemies, especially without gas or will-o-wisps. So enemies like blind pests, wisps, and XI constructs will be a challenge. Some of the best items are obviously the soldier syringe, the gas, the tri-tips, the stun grenades, and the sticky bombs. Nailgun MUL-T lives and dies by his attack speed, so you want to have a ton of attack speed with tons of things to stack with it. Since you're a sitting duck in your power mode, leeching seeds are not a must-have, but most of my runs have been carried by them. That's all I gotta say. Legendary items you should look out for are things like Symbiotic Scorpion, Shattering Justice, Brilliant Behemoth, and again, Nailgun MUL-T is basically just a machine gun tank, so anything that boosts his attack speed or tankiness will help immensely. But enough of that, let's get into the best way to play MUL-T, the rebar retool strat. This is achieved by equipping the retool and having both of your primaries taken up by the rebar. Normally the rebar is an item you quickly rip out, snipe a pesky enemy from far away, but with the retool strat, you basically have an automatic railgun, with the added bonus of being able to hold on to two equipments. Considering the high damage of the rebar, the pierce, and the really good accuracy, only having to worry about shooting too fast after the retool because it just makes your accuracy dog shit, it's extremely good. It's actually how I beat most of my Eclipse runs. Only most of them though. But why can't I remember how I beat the other ones? I guess it doesn't matter. Rebar MUL-T is based on its high single bullet damage, so naturally stuff like crowbar, crit glasses, armor piercing rounds, and fireworks will be of great help. Mix it with an ATG and a laser scope and you'll be crushing those bosses. The fireworks might be a little out of place, but they help with the massive swarms of enemies that you struggle with in this version of MUL-T. I'd say any enemies that swarm can be particularly hard for this version of MUL-T, like the Beetle Queen, Larva, and Imps. But for that downside, you easily slaughter the bigger bosses like the Stone Titan, the Eyeball, the Brass Contraption, Elder Lemurian, Greater Wisp. Like, you're just a fucking monster against anything with a high HP pool. But never underestimate the power of the Swarm. I have died too many times to a mob of flying pests that just came in and insta-killed me. Equipments are big for this because you can have two of them. So I would reserve one of them for a strong item and one of them for covering my weaknesses. So, for example, I run an executive card, an eccentric vase, and trophy hunters in one slot, but in the other I'd run a backup, a disposable missile launcher, or a volcanic egg. But all in all, this is a really strong build, and... But enough of that, let's get into the best way to play MUL-T, the combo MUL-T, where you combo with mostly a rocket and one other item. Usually not my cup of tea. I usually like to do... Well, I don't remember what I like to do. Well, anyway, I like to run it with rockets because rockets are usually great for comboing with other items. I usually run it with retool because it's a great way to just put it away and then pull it back out and it's already reloaded again. They're great with just about anything, like if you just want to spray down all the enemies with your nail gun and then switch to your rockets to get some good splash damage in there, that's good. If you want to have that high single target damage and then have that splash to cover your ass, that's great. Or if you just want to be a maniac with a saw and then pull out the rockets whenever you need to get something out of the sky, it's also good. My personal favorite is rebar with rockets because it's just really nice to be able to have that splash damage to deal with swarms and also have that high single target damage as well. The best things about the rockets that MUL-T has is that they're just good with about anything. Like, you can just shove anything on there and it's going to be pretty damn good. Besides maybe like leeching seeds, symbiotic scorpions, and the bands, but you can cover for that by using the car mode to hit stuff like a drunk driver aiming at that family of 4, or using a nail gun in your other slot. Basically playing MUL-T as a jack of all trades, master of none type of deal. Besides that, I have no recommendations. You might want to run equipments like the eccentric vase and the executive card, and why does it sound familiar? I don't know. You could also cover your ass with like the disposable missile launcher and the backup and the volcanic egg. That'd be pretty good. But since there's going to be such a wide variance and stuff, like, it's kind of needless for me to tell you more about it. So without further ado, I really like this build and... God damn it, please. I just want it to end. But enough of that. Let's get into the best way to play MUL-T. Double saw MUL-T is the best way to play MUL-T in my opinion. Wait, no it's not. I fucking hate this. Double Saw multi has the highest damage output out of all the multi builds. You can do 2000% damage per second, but it comes with a few downsides. First of all, it doesn't do that 1000% damage all at once. It does it in 10 ticks over the second, so it's 100% damage per tick. And also, you don't really have anything to shoot all those pesky enemies of the sky with, so what you're gonna have to do is probably get a ton of drones to help you with that. I'd also just reset if you don't get any in the first stage, because you're probably gonna die early anyway. The itemization doesn't matter too much, but I would prioritize items like the Infusion, the Bison Steak, the Leeching Seeds, and the Aegis. Although he struggles with anything in the sky, he crushes anything on the ground, especially bosses and stronger, bigger enemies. But the flying enemies do make him a limp wiener. But now I'm done talking about Saw multi, I think it's time to end this. No! Stop it. I got it from here, but you can keep my soul though, I don't really want it. Alright, let's talk about the subclasses of multi together. Multi can always be a completely separate character depending on his primaries, and they aren't always equal. You've probably seen that I have a slight bias for rebar multi. It's still one of my favorites because you still get the movement speed and you do crazy damage. Nail gun as multi is super good, but it's just you don't move very fast, so sometimes you're just a sitting duck. Any other combination that aren't the two same things together are honestly valid. Like, I like all of them. They're cool. I think it's fun to do, and I like how you can have different preferences and base your character around that. Although I do try to encourage using the rocket launcher with other primaries because it's a very good support tool to other primaries and it's just good all around. But play however you want because multi, in its design, was made for freedom. The freedom of choosing your character based on the pieces Hoopu Games gave you. Unless your version of freedom is leaving the ground or something. Either way, multi for fools was a pain to write a video about. Hey guys, thank you for watching to the end of the video. If you guys liked the video, please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you guys didn't like it, then, dislike, unsubscribe, and, uncomment, I guess. I don't know. And just for the end of the video, I'm going to throw in a memorial for my dog who died during the making of this video. It took me so long that, my dog died of old age, so. Yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope you guys find a penny underneath your couch or something.